Hello, hello, hello. This is my first ever YouTube video and I'm really excited to be making this on my barefoot review. So I have been obsessed with being barefoot recently because of everything that has gone on in my past. I was a college athlete and I played lacrosse all the way up until my senior year of college. My sophomore year, I started to have a lot of feet issues. I also had a lot of hip issues as a child and knee problems and whatnot. So I was having a lot of feet issues as a athlete and it was really getting in the way of me performing to my best. I did everything under the sun, star, moon, everything to fix it. Went to therapy, I saw my athletic trainer, I got surgery, I had inserts in my shoes, I wore supportive shoes, I did my stretching, I did literally everything you could think of. And it was not better. So I had really severe plantar fasciitis in both my left and my right foot. I did get surgery on the left side of my foot, but it wasn't until this year, which is a full year after I graduated plus some, that I discovered the benefits of barefoot running, walking, and all of the above. I just wanted to share it with you and just kind of explaining how to go barefoot and some of my best shoes that I have been using and kind of going from there. Here is how I discovered being barefoot. So I work at Orange Theory and I love it there, but being on my feet all day and also being expected to do the workouts, not expected, but I wanted to do it anyways. I was having severe feet issues again, even when I was done being an athlete, and it just was really getting in the way of my career at this point. One of our members is a chiropractor, and I kind of asked her as a last effort if she knew anything that would help me out, and she said, I don't really deal with that, but I do know this lady. She's a massage therapist, and she's amazing. She's always fixed me. And so I went to this massage therapist and she was amazing. Like, she's seriously amazing. She walked up to me in the office barefoot and I was like, wow, I love that so much. And then so we kind of went on with my appointment and everything, and she did a bunch of different tests and whatnot. And usually with plantar fasciitis, the issue is that you're very tight and you have limited range of motion and this and that. Well, I actually have hypermobility, so all my joints go past their normal range of motion, and then I start to lose strength past the normal range of motion. So I actually don't have that issue where I am tight. I'm the opposite. So she was trying to figure out if that was the issue, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I walked in with these like super thick sole shoes and she's like, well, first of all, we need to get you out of those. And I was like, what are you talking about? These are my supportive shoes. And she goes, no, we need to get you going barefoot. Like, there are so many benefits of going barefoot. And I was like, I never really thought of that. And she goes, yeah, I want you to do some research on being barefoot and just see what you can find. So I did some research and I found a lot of different YouTube channels and Instagrammers. There's the Urban Barefoot and the Foot Collective, and then also Vivobarefoot, who I actually get my shoes from. And I found all their Instagrams and just started to do some research, and it is insane the benefits of being barefoot. So if you think back to when we first evolved from primates, essentially, we did not wear shoes. Shoes were a human invention just to protect our feet from twigs, rocks, so on, as they were running to catch their meal or whatever it was. Shoes were just supposed to be an extra protective layer on the bottom of their feet. Well, as time evolved and we get into like the Victorian era and start to see heels and confining shoes, like you'll see those Chinese women that have their foot bindings and all of these different feet practices, because it was seen that having higher heels was actually a sign of royalty. You had very minimalist shoes, you were either a worker out in the yard or you were a peasant or whatever it was, but the royals and the higher ups, they wore the high heel shoes. Well, it turns out that the high heel shoes were actually really impacting the foot negatively, and the people working in the field had far more mobility and functionality in their feet, which makes sense. So So as time went on, we eventually got the very first running shoe. And this was actually pretty recently. It came with Reebok, I believe, were the first running shoes. Don't quote me on that. And then you have Adidas and Nike, and they all started kind of coming in with these running shoes. Our running shoes actually were pretty flat to start out with. Essentially what happened was, as time went on and runners were starting to see more and more issues with running form and shin splints, plantar fasciitis, hamstring pulls, stress fractures, all of these things that were happening were actually due to the running form and the running shoe. Companies were trying to combat this with adding more things into their shoe to kind of prevent those issues. To prevent a collapsed arch, they were putting in that arch support. To prevent heel pain from heel striking, they added that extra cushion, and so on. So what I mean is, I'm just gonna show you the difference real quick. This is a barefoot shoe. This is a conventional running shoe. So you'll see that this one has a lot more cushioning in the bottom of the sole than this one does. So that was one thing they added, was more cushioning down here. They also added a toe spring, so if you notice that the shoe kind of flips up at the very top here, and that was to help people push off because their gait got so bad with the extra cushioning. Then these are very rigid. You can't bend them almost at all. That causes our feet to be very rigid as well. The toe box is very small here, so human feet actually like display as they are hitting the ground. So with this shoe, you can see that it's more shaped like a foot versus this one where it comes to a point. And they also added a arch support in most shoes. And then finally they added this really thick heel, so it was a heel lift, so it was thicker here and it kind of comes down to a point down here. And the reason they added that thick heel lift was because so many people ended up heel striking first. So heel striking is if this is the floor, you're running, you're hitting your heel, and then they're coming off and then popping off from here. Whereas back in the day, they kind of ran more on their toe and then pushed off. The reasoning that it's significant that you don't heel strike is because when you do heel strike, that sends a lot of pressure up through the shin and through the knees. And your shins and your knees are not designed to be taking on that much force. But if we hit more on the balls of our feet and then push off, we are going to be ending up using more of our calf. And our calf is a very, very large muscle in relation to the muscles on top of our shins. So we want to be using that calf because it is designed to take that force or that impact. When we use our calf, we're actually going to be reducing that plantar fasciitis injuries and those knee injuries, and on top of that, our shin splints that a lot of runners feel. Changing your gait in that form will also have a huge impact on just that pain. That is the difference between a conventional shoe. And then I'll just kind of go over the barefoot shoe real quick. So barefoot shoe has very minimal sole here, almost none at all. They're very flexible. They have that wide toe box, and it has a very natural bottom where you are forced to run the correct way with this. So actually when you train to run or walk barefoot, you are working those muscles in your feet and they're doing the job that they are supposed to be doing, as opposed to letting the shoe do it for you. The foot is made up of 28 bones, 33 joints, and over 100 muscles. That's crazy. Our foot is designed to run. This is how we evolved to where we are. This is how we made it this far, is by running. Because in the wild, we had to run to catch our food. There was no other way around it, because animals ended up dying out from exhaustion because they cannot sweat like we do. So it was very important that we were able to run a far distance to keep up with that prey until the animal was able to collapse basically from exhaustion, but we had to keep up with them. So our foot literally evolved to run. When we add all of those band-aids in that shoe, it is literally taking away all of the muscles, all of the adaptations that we worked so hard to have over all of these years. So most of us were put in conventional shoes when we were a small child. So that means for your entire life, essentially, I'm 23 years old, essentially my whole life, 23 years of living, I have not I don't have any of those muscles working. And that was kind of upsetting to me when I found that out. So I really thought, hey, it's time to make a change for me. It's actually crazy. I can see muscles in my feet that I have literally never seen before. And I can feel my feet being so much stronger. And my arch is actually working the way it's supposed to. And everything is going very, very well. I just want to add in there that this took a long time and it didn't happen overnight. So I just want to kind of preface that if you are going to go barefoot, please do it around the right way and make sure you ease into it. Start by walking a couple of days a week in barefoot shoes and then maybe running literally 0.25 miles, like so short. I decided, I was like, hey, I'm going to run a mile to start off softly and just kind of see how it goes. Well, I immediately regretted that because my calves were sore for the entire next week and I could not move or walk or anything. But I'll tell you that my plantar fascia did not hurt. It was my calves that were sore, it was my feet that were sore, but I was not feeling any pain. And that is so incredible to me because like I said, I was not able to function or do my job because I had so much pain in my heel. I literally couldn't walk around. I had to be sitting down. But now I was just sore. Like if you do some squats and your butt gets sore, that's the same thing. That's your feet just get sore. Again, if you're gonna go for this barefoot journey, please take it slow and do your research first. Okay, disclaimer, I'm about to show you my feet, so if you're grossed out by feet, go ahead and just skip through this part. I'm gonna put down a time right here where you can skip forward to so that you can just avoid the feet altogether. Okay, so here are my feet. I'm low-key really proud of them. So if you notice this muscle right here coming through my arch, that was never there before. This is something I've developed and my feet have gotten a whole lot stronger. All of this muscle right in here, it looks like almost bigger, which is weird. But so my foot has gotten a lot stronger than it ever has before. And then also your feet, if you check it out, see for yourself if your toe goes straight forward and if there's a little bit of gap between your first and your second toe. With conventional shoes, especially dress shoes, you'll see a lot of people with their toe in like this. And then that's where we start to get bunions right here. Check your feet and see if they are pretty straightforward here. See if you can push your top toe down and you can lift your 4 other toes and then flip flop. So then push your 4 down and lift this top toe up. So this is kind of called toga or toe yoga, where you just flip flop between the two. And that's actually strengthening a lot of those muscles within the arch. So I'll kind of show you this way. So as we go through, my arch is now working a little bit harder. So another exercise you can do is plant your foot down into the ground and see if you can push this toe down and lift up your arch without curling your toes. So as I come through, my arch lifts up and then I put it down. So again, arch lifts up, notice that it's working right here, and then I lift it down. All right, so I'm gonna go over some of the products that I have gotten since being barefoot. Now, a lot of people can argue that if you're wearing shoes, you're not technically barefoot, which is true, but unfortunately with my job being in a gym, I'm not allowed to be fully barefoot. I think people would think that was pretty gross. So I have to kind of find ways around it, and luckily there are some shoes that have pretty minimal designs that allow you to be pretty much barefoot with having that protective layer. On my first product are toe spreaders. This was the first thing I actually got. And the point of this is to allow your feet to be exactly how they're supposed to be. Like I said before, when we have shoes like this, it kind of crunches all your toes in because it comes to a point and it's very tight in there. Exactly same thing with dress shoes, or especially for men's dress shoes come to a very severe point, as well as high heels. So kind of to combat my 23 years of living this way, I got toe spreaders. So this is what they look like. They go right between your toes. The point of this, obviously, again, is just to spread your toes. You can keep these on there for as long as you like. I started off with just doing like 20 minutes here and there. I will say sometimes my feet do fall asleep wearing these, or my toes fall asleep, and in that case I just take them off. But the longer you can keep them on, obviously the better. The second product that I got were the Vivobarefoot Primus Light Bio shoes. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay. This is what they look like, and while the color of them is literally green, they're also a green shoe. So let me tell you what I mean by that. I'm just gonna read this right off their website. You can go check it out too. It's at vivobarefoot.com, but I'm just gonna read it right for you. They say that in the same way you make beer, our fermentation process converts glucose derived from cornstarch into an ingredient where they create a stretchy, soft uppers and super tough soles. Okay, so the shoe is literally made out of corn. And then it also has natural rubbers, which are sustainably tapped straight out of a rubber tree in Vietnam. And then they mix this to create their soles. And then lastly, this is made out of algae as well. So it's harvested from algae that not only clears and restores the environment, but it is a great ingredient for a super lightweight foam insoles and natural rubber outsoles that perform well in great outdoors. So okay, amazing. Also made out of recyclable plastic, which is really cool. Their whole goal is to use 90% of sustainable materials by 2021. So if you know anything about me, you know that I am very, very much into you know, reducing plastic use, and I'm trying to just be more conscious about the environment. So the fact that these shoes are really sustainable is a reason enough to buy them for me. But then on top of this, they have this honeycomb style on the bottom that allows it to be very flexible in all ranges of motion, which is really nice. You can see that they have been used, so they're a little bit dirty on the bottom, but they've held up very well. Obviously, I've only had them for a little bit of time, but I haven't had any issues with them so far. This top part right up here is really nice because it's not restrictive, but it's not also overly flexible. I have had the Adidas Boost where I feel like my toes are just falling out of the shoe, and that really bothers me because I can't move in the way that I like to, and I feel like my foot is like rolling over the sole, and I have a lot of ankle twists and such in those shoes. I don't notice in this because the uppers are very nice on this, as well as the flat sole. That's one really big positive for me, just because I do move in very weird motions. Pros of them, I love them. They've been so good. They're actually very breathable as well, so I actually don't wear socks with them, which I've always thought was really, really gross. To wear no socks with shoes, but recently I've been doing that. I just really like the feel of being barefoot, even though I still have a shoe on technically. Other thing is this sole is really durable, but it's very minimal in the fact that I can feel the ground. So if I'm walking, let's say on a gravelly road, I can feel all of the rocks that are kind of going over my foot, but I don't have pain with it. It's just like a feeling, whereas it's a sensation that I can feel that I'm not able to feel in regular shoes, which I really like because, again, that goes back to the barefoot feel. Also, they're super, super lightweight, and they're just really, really comfortable. Only negative I would say is this little back part right here. Like I said, I do Orange Theory classes, so it doesn't have like any cushion back here. When I do my rowing at Orange Theory, I do notice just like a bit of rubbing from the footbed that your foot sets in, but that's literally so minimal and not a huge deal to me that I still love these shoes. So here are the Vivobarefoot Primus Light Bio shoes. Next pair of shoes that I got are the Earth Runners. And they are the Adventure Elemental shoe. So they have 3 different sizes on their website. The Elemental, the Circadian, and the Alpha, and they are all different sizes of the sole. And I got the Elemental solely because it was the cheapest out of all 3. I'm broke and I decided to go for the cheapest option. I just got these shoes literally less than a week ago, so it's hard for me to do a full review on them, but I'll just kind of tell you what I've noticed so far and kind of pros and cons of this. Essentially what we have here is one big strap that just loops all the way through, and wraps around the entire shoe. And then from there, once you get the shoes, you can adjust the strap and then end up cutting this down to length. I haven't done that yet. And just let it fit to your foot how you want it to feel. The other thing is it starts here with a copper plug. So the copper plug allows your foot to be grounded, which means that the electrons are kind of flowing through the copper plug and then through the conductive like stitching in the sandal, which is pretty high tech for such a minimalist shoe. It just allows us to be more in contact with the ground and kind of sharing those electrons that are flowing through the earth. It also, there's a lot of science on it, and I will link the website page that kind of explains all of that. But essentially it helps with performance, it helps with recovery, and it kind of just helps with being more in tune with the earth. The other thing you have here is the Vibram sole. So if you've heard of the Vibram 5-finger shoes, they kind of just like look like toe shoes, they actually patented a sole, and it's a very minimalist but durable sole. That is kind of all about this shoe. I got the black color just to keep it pretty subtle. And so what I've noticed with these shoes is this little part that runs through your first toe and second toe, it's a little bit noticeable at first. And I have Chacos where the lace kind of comes right between your toes, and I didn't think I would notice it or mind it as much when I was buying these, but I definitely notice it. And they say that you can just adjust it by twisting it a little bit and kind of loosening up the straps, so I'm gonna have to play around with that. And I think just as the straps get a little bit more durable too, that I won't notice it as much, hopefully. We'll see. And the other thing I noticed is that the sole is definitely very thin. You can feel the ground a lot. And I personally really like that, but for someone who is just starting out, you might want to choose a thicker sole than this one because it is very thin and it is very minimal. Only other thing I can mention is that this little part here is just like a little plastic snap. Some people have expressed that it rubs against their ankle. I have not noticed that at all. I personally like these shoes. I haven't noticed any of that, but other than just this rubbing like right here, I really like these shoes. But like I said, I've only had these guys for a week, so I can't really express a full review on these. But so far, so good. I haven't ran in them yet. I don't know if I ever will run in them. I'm not quite to that experience level yet, but we'll see. Maybe I will. Overall, those are my 3 products that I got that I have been doing my barefoot experience with, and I have been really in love with everything so far. I have not had any issues with anything, and it's really just been an amazing experience for my feet and also my body alignment, and just kind of really being able to feel the ground, which is kind of a weird concept. And I didn't ever think about it when I had just conventional shoes. It literally was never a thought in my mind until I got these shoes, and I was like, wow, I can actually feel everything. And it's really cool to just kind of have that neural feedback of just kind of where I'm stepping and what's going on with everything. So I really have been liking that. And then also one thing to note, it has been weird now that I have transitioned to barefoot shoes. I don't as much want to wear the other shoes, so I have been donating a lot of my shoes that I have had, just because having your foot that has now expanded a little bit muscular wise, and then also just my toes, putting them back into a shoe that kind of jams them closed is kind of an uncomfortable feeling, as well as I'm worried that I'm gonna have arch issues and heel issues and just kind of uncomfortable feelings running with conventional shoes again. So I like to stay with my barefoot stuff as much as I possibly can. And then I intend to get a couple more of the Vivobarefoot shoes. But that comes up to my last point. I will say that most barefoot shoes are handmade, which makes them a little bit more expensive. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons there. Personally, I've worn my Vivobarefoot shoes every single day, and I haven't worn a single other pair of shoes since then. And so for me, the price makes it a little bit more worthwhile. as well as the fact that they are the bio shoes, that they are handcrafted and they are pretty amazing. And then also for my Earth Runners, these were also handmade. It came with a little sticker that even said my name on it, my size and whatnot, and so you kind of know that love is being put into these shoes. And that's just kind of a big deal to me. I like the fact that I know where my shoes are coming from and that they were kind of crafted with love. So I don't know, it's kind of up to you how much you want to spend on shoes. There are some other companies out there that make a little bit more affordable shoes, but like I said, they are not the cutest in my mind. So you kind of have to give and take with that one. But I would highly recommend you guys try out some Barefoot shoes. It has been seriously such an amazing experience for me, and I would love to know if you guys actually try it and keep me posted. I'm really curious. So I hope you guys liked this review. I know that was a lot, but I hope this helped out and kind of just explained everything that I've been going through. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon.